Can anybody else hear them talking in the room?
No, I cannot.
No. Oh. Dale, nobody on the Zoom can hear what's going on. We can hear mumbling.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we need to speak into the mic. We were mumbling because we didn't have a quorum. Wonderful Vic has just walked into the room, so we now have a quorum and we can go ahead and start the meeting. It is 8:05. Yeah, and please speak into the mic so that the folks in the audience can hear us. Okay, let's do a quick roll call. Craig Heber.
Here.
Lynn Eisberg is missing. Mary Ann Thunder told me she couldn't make it. Chris, I see you on TV.
Hello.
Not yet. Jerry, I see you on TV. Vic is here. Bud Trapp,
here.
Rob Young,
Here.
Randy True,
Here.
and I am here. Okay, very good. Thank you all. We are now calling the meeting to order, and we are going to call for oral communications. Anybody who has something to say or discuss that is not on the agenda, please feel free at this time. Hearing none, I'm closing oral communications, and we're moving on to review and approval of the minutes of July 6th, 2023, which were attached to the morning packet.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you all. And I apologize because I took the minutes and I'm not very good, but hopefully we got the important things. Okay, town update. We have Howard is here. You want to go ahead and speak to these, Howard, or do you want me to summarize for you? You go up and speak. We'd love to have you.
So thank you. I did give a verbal report to Dale yesterday to pass on if I didn't make it, but since I'm here, I'll just quickly go through all the items. Update on backup for town internet. There's no update. The staff is still working on that. The AM radio relocation. We have started, we trimmed the tree. We've been working with Dale and Ray concerning that. They found a sever on it. So we provide them with a ladder, they fix the sever. And right now the plan is to bring back the radio equipment sometime next week. And I know that Ray has inspected the room and there are some storage items in the room that we plan to address also in the radio room. So that is the update on the AM radio location. And that's the old radio and radio antenna that was removed a while back. Backup power on wireless base stations. I think the last time, according to the minutes, that someone on the committee was going to take that on to help the town staff get the numbers off the towers and call them as a start. And I think that is it for my report. So I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Ray,
I have a
see-
question, Dale.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry, you first. Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just want to be clear that when we relocate the AM radio with the old antenna, we will be decreasing the exposure or the ability of people within the town to hear it. And so a timeline on adding the high gain antenna, which hopefully would mitigate that, is also important because we will, in a sense, be degrading our AM radio capability for the town. So I just want to make sure that everyone is clear about that and that the town has some kind of plan going forward for how to get the high gain antenna up or moving the whole thing to a better location. But it's a great start.
Ray,
So,
you
yeah, let me pile in there, Jerry. So I've talked to the manufacturer vendor. I've got all the technical drawings. I know exactly what to do and how to do it. To move the high gain antenna to the town mast will require us to drill some new holes, do some alignment, put in a ballam, put in a ground plane in the dirt. So it's quite a bit of work, but it's all doable. What we need, and I've talked to Howard about this, is we need some sort of platform that a couple of men can stand on. The antenna is kind of unwieldy. It's long and tall, so you need a couple of men to do the drilling and then to mount it. Or I shouldn't say men, I should say strong people. Let's put it that way. A scissor jack, I think, would fit in the area where the mast is, or even a cherry picker that's capable of picking up 400 pounds or something like that, because the antenna is not trivial. We can do that this week. It's just a matter of getting the lifting system.
don't we need to trim the tree back a little more, Ray?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll be fine as is. In fact, the antenna is going to be even higher above the tree, the radiating part of it. So I think we'll be better there. So Jerry, to your point, yes, this location with this antenna will be down. The performance will be substandard to what we're used to in town. So if people are checking, suddenly they may not hear it. They may hear it, but they may not. And then the high gain antenna in the new location, it's going to help a lot, like 3 times as much effective radiation coverage. But we don't know how it'll be. We've never tested this antenna in this location. So, but I think it'll be way better than what presently is in the town with the inferior antenna. And then Craig Taylor, is he there today? I can't see everybody, but
He's here, yes.
yeah, he called me about, opening up the communication with Cal Water to find a new location, which is fine. But I think in the meantime, I'll summarize. I know what to do. I know how to do it. I just need to get a platform for safety's sake to do the work, because we can't pull the mast down. We have to do the work at about 12 feet off the ground at the top of the mast.
Does the fire department have any ladders or booms or something?
Well, they have ladders, but I don't really want to do this drilling. We're going to have to drill through this aluminum mast. It's not trivial. I'll probably get some new bits. And it's got to be very horizontal because they have to drill through both sides of the mast, keeping it level, because there's 2 bolts that hold the insulator standoffs. So it's a precision drill, and doing it on a ladder, I think, is a risky balance.
Yeah, we'll look at either a scissor lift or a cherry picker or something that a couple of guys can stand on.
I thought about putting out a notice. I mean, who knows? This town's got amazing resources. Maybe somebody's got one in their backyard. We could just borrow it.
It's probably several $100s to deliver and a couple $100 a day. Or something like that.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
under $1,000.
I agree. I agree.
So a couple of things on that. And thank you, Ray. I think the first step before was, kind of phase 1 was to getting the radio equipment back. And I know we asked for some information on the kind of RF exposure for FCC. And thank you, Rob, for sending that. And I shared that with the management staff. And then so that was kind of phase A. And the phase B was the discussion of the high gain antenna. So I haven't looked into that yet, but that's something that we were going to look into And I think that was it.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. Any other questions for Howard? Well, we've got him. Okay. Thank you very much, Howard.
So real quick, I
Howard.
just want to acknowledge, Howard, thank you for trimming that tree so quickly and moving fast on this. I really appreciate it. I just want everybody to know that.
We all do.
Thank you. And that we did that with our own crews, but the long range plan is to reduce that tree for about to about 40%. It's grown since I installed it about 10 years ago, the antenna. That tree has grown 100%. So that one and the one close to the building, either we're going to remove or reduce that one too. So thank you.
Okay, next, let's move on to the fire department and CERT report.
All right, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, Tom Kashari, first time in person here as your new fire chief for the district. Go ahead and give you the updates here. So far for fire season, the state, very mild fire season so far. Reports from CAL FIRE, about 95,000 acres so far burned throughout the state. A few weeks ago, San Mateo County was put on alert to actually help out possibly with the rabbit fire down in Riverside County. Thankfully, they got that under control and we were called off. So our resources weren't needed down south. They were going to try to assemble a strike team to get on. So we were called off. Other things going on, prevention divisions continue to do their work on defensible space inspections, plan checks, and general inspections. Currently, our district members are going through some training. Annually, we do a refresher training for auto extrication. This is where we practice the latest techniques and advanced patient removal from damaged vehicles. We have everybody in our department rotate through that. We get a couple of cars from the salvage wreckers, and then we'll go through some patient extrication training on that, and using our jaws of life and all our new and latest tools that we have to cut people out, because vehicles are always changing with boron steel. EVs now are a big thing, so we have to keep on that. Yeah, we actually could. We do it at kind of a private area, but just kind of out of the public view. But yeah, you can. It's a public place. You can watch. We're doing it out at the Shenyoin Temple. That's in the Redwood City Hills here. They allow us to train. We're doing it there. We have like 2 or 3 cars there. But yeah, more than welcome to stop by and check it out. Let's see. Yesterday, I attended the annual meeting between the police and fire chiefs. We had some guest speakers there. PG&E was talking about the reminders that they have for public safety. Also had Don Mateo from DEM. They were going over a brief presentation of everything that DEM has to offer. Just a reminder they do every year for us. Another topic of discussion we had was our CAD to CAD integration. It's something that we're kind of trying to work on. We've noticed that we could be improving our response times. When a call comes into 911, we're trying to gather the data, how that all is working and how we can improve. So there's some data being assessed on that, and hopefully we can move forward in a new system that the state is actually trying to put together. As far as our stations, Station 8 remodel in Portola Valley progressing forward. Most of the interior work is complete. Exterior is currently being painted. Some final concrete is being poured. Next, we'll start the landscaping, and our anticipated completion date is the end of August. So that's exciting news for us. Fire Station 7, the exterior siding and roof are almost complete. Still finishing up some electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, and they've started the interior drywall. They've already finished those things. Site work is being done at this time, and still anticipated completion is the end of November for that. As far as changes in the organization, our finance manager, Kate Edwards, just retired this week after 25 years of service to the district. We have our new finance manager, Tracy Liu. She was hired in March and has been shadowing Kate since then, and she has just taken over. Last week, we conducted our fire marshal interviews, and we have offered a position to Kim Giuliacci. She is our fire inspector 2. She will be shadowing Dawn starting in October and taking over when Dawn retires in December. Other recruitment issue, let's see, happenings that we have are firefighter recruitment. We have 2 new firefighter paramedics that we've hired. They'll start the academy in August. And let's see, as I think I mentioned before, we recently announced our battalion chief and captain's test that'll take place in September and October. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Could you, on the new fire marshal, could you give us that name again and the spelling?
Her name is Kim Giuliacci.
There's no last name.
She came from us a couple months ago, the beginning of the year, from Menlo Park Fire. She's had some experience with Central County Fire. She's working currently with us as a fire inspector too. She has a lot of great knowledge, state level stuff and commercial, residential, really stuff. So, that's it.
Give me spelling of that when you get a chance.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Giulacc. Let me write it down.
Get that right in the notes.
No, I'm like, what?
You know, what, you can give it to me later.
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, correct me later.
No.
Hi, good morning. It's so good to see all of you. Oh, it's always funny when I'm on the mic. So I put a lot of stuff in the report because I wanted to talk about some other items, but I did want to add to the SMC alert portion. I met with the DEM with Ryan Reynolds and Dave Cosgrave for an hour. And in that amount of time, I feel confident in being able to train our staff on the ability to use SMC alert. I'm updating our sender list, so who can send out SMC alerts, where we messed up in the past. I have a map here showing exactly what happened last year. So you can see, you pass this around, where the polygon was made of where we were sending that SMC alert out, so you understand why you did not receive it. And if you receive duplicate messages, it's probably because the secondary account you made or the new account on the new system, there was one thing that was different. So unless you create a new account on the Rave platform, exactly the same. So all of the emails are the same. You have not added another email. All the phone numbers are the same. It does not recognize it as a duplicate account. So the algorithm won't remove that. So if you're getting two messages for the same thing, please let me know and I will handle it for you.
What does this map show?
So that map is showing the polygon we drew to send out the message for SMC alert. And it was supposed to be Portola Valley, Woodside, basically all of the fire district. And we had decided last minute to send it out to Woodside and unincorporated areas, since we were doing it with Portola Valley on the day of the event, which was the town picnic last year, or the communication day last year. But what happened is when the polygon was drawn, somehow Portola Valley was unselected. So you can see on this map here, Woodside with some odd areas surrounding Portola Valley, maybe some unincorporated areas there. So very clean cut as to why it didn't work. And I feel very confident that it's going to work this time. Also, there's some just basic things that on the user end, we just needed to be aware of. So I personally do feel confident in the system, and it's only going to get better from here on out. One of the cool things is, you know, where you get SMC alert and it has like that like 6-digit number, I believe. It's a smaller digit, it's not a full phone number. Those are emergency numbers so that they send a certain amount of text messages out, you know, like 200 per second. What is going to happen is we're going to have non-emergency 10-digit numbers dedicated specifically to our jurisdictions, so that it'll send out text messages at just a tiny bit slower rate, nothing significant. But what it'll do is when you get it to your phone, you'll recognize that phone number as being from Woodside Fire District. So you can save that one phone number in. And if you have like one of the shorter codes, and you're like, oh, I don't want to receive this message because it was sent in error, you can say, you know, you can reply remove or no to that, and it won't take you off of our alerts from our 10-digit number. It's a little bit confusing, but either way, what it's going to do is remove a lot of that, the text messages that you don't want.
Sometimes when it comes in on telephone, it calls scam is coming in. spam, whatever it's gonna be spam. So how do you get that so it comes in as a real alert rather than don't pick it up?
I'm not sure about that specifically. So that's on your cell phone when
You know, I
it
mean,
calls
on the landline.
on landline. So the landline portion of it is something that I'm not, that's something we don't, the DEM specifically said, you know, this is a little bit more complicated and the system is not as dialed in as text message and email. So the phone part, the reverse 911 basically is still, they're working out the kinks on that. But the text and email portion, I feel confident on it. Yes, Rob.
Are you gonna do anything to try to put this out to the residents?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just met with them last week.
No, I
And
mean, the residents of all of Portola Valley
yes,
and Woodside.
so I just met with the DEM last week. So what I'm going to do now is reschedule the test. I'm going to put a list of, you know, what basically, you know, we appreciate your feedback and understand your frustration with the program, but we feel very confident in this. If you come across any of these issues, contact me. And then I was thinking of setting the test alert for September since it's National Preparedness Month. And we can kind of dovetail on that, gives us a little bit of time to promote it, get more people involved and psyched about it again.
So this number where this is coming from, can we rely upon that number to be, let's say that there is a fire in the middle of the night. If we get a text message, will it always be from that number? Can we rely on that so that we can block other stuff?
So if it's a fire, if it's going to be something like a fire, it's going to be sent out more like a WIA.
Pardon?
So it's a WIA. So it's going to ring on your phone, you know, no matter what. It's like those presidential alerts. And so it goes above and beyond what we're sending for road closures or, you know, downed power lines.
But the WIAs take more time to get out because they have to be approved at a higher level, right?
Yeah, but we would be working with the Department of Emergency Management. If there's going to be a fire going on, you know, we already have to, the fire district has to be working with the sheriff's department, contacting the county. So it's going to take a little bit of time anyway, but the message needs to be clear coming out.
So the non-WIA alerts that come out, can we depend upon them always coming from that one phone number?
It just depends on if they use the short code or the long code. So the short code would be maybe a different set of numbers from just depending on, because what it does is it chooses these certain sets of numbers, whichever one is accessible, it shoots the messages out via there. The 10-digit number is going to be committed to Woodside Fire, but that's going to take some time because they have to apply for that and get through the process of that and then start assigning them.
So residents should not be blocking their phones depending upon that number for a while.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell people that. You can go ahead and say no at this point. Yeah, I'll just let them know what's coming down the pipeline.
Is there going to be an alert test coming up?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in September, since it's National Preparedness Month, I would like to have a test in National Preparedness Month to kind of dovetail on it. So have the month of August be for promoting SM Sealer and then using September to do it. Randy?
So the WIA alert breaks through do not disturb. right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
I think
yes.
I remember seeing one of those.
It's the
videos
ones
ago.
that your phone goes, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So when I lived in San Francisco, every Tuesday at noon, they would test a big siren. You could hear it from, I think, everywhere in the city. This is a test of the emergency broadcast. This is just a test. Has the DEM considered a regular interval test? I mean, maybe once a week would be too often, and I would not wanted it in the middle of the night. But you know, people get new phones, and you know,
Yeah.
and systems change at the agencies. It could be worthwhile even to go for a period where every first Tuesday of every month there's a test of it, and then you know, if people know that's happening,
Randy speaking.
sorry, if people know that's happening, then they can make sure that they're getting the messages the way they're expecting to get it, and they have their phone, their cell phone, or their landline set up, and we can be reviewing with people. You know, people can be asking their neighbors, "Are you getting this? You know, this is happening." And
So the DEM currently does that for tsunami warnings, right? Or they do a tsunami test monthly. I don't know if I can go back and talk to them and see how they feel about that. I think the big thing is the balance between sending out the right amount of alerts at the right time and not overloading, right? So I'll have the conversation with them for sure.
Yeah, they mentioned at the evacuation training at the DEM, they said mentioned the number 10% of only 10% of people in the county
Yeah.
have signed up for SMC alert. That was an
Yeah.
alarming number. And they also mentioned the traffic alerts causing attrition. People don't want those
Absolutely.
messages. They cancel. And so
And that's the problem. They'll cancel and then it removes them from all alerts.
right.
So it's a little bit, there just needs to be a little clarification for residents to understand what they're doing exactly when they're saying, no, I don't want to receive these anymore.
Yeah.
And it needs to be on the sender end. So as a sender, we're sending them out appropriately so that if somebody chooses not to receive that message, they're not going to get removed. So
Yeah.
it's both ways, but it is definitely getting better. And I'm confident that the message we send out in September will go to our Portola Valley residents. And we're still going to learn from that. So the default email that you can respond to on there will get sent to Ryan Reynolds. And then Ryan, him and I are in contact constantly. And he's going to be forwarding me those emails too, just so that we have a back and forth confirming who has issues, how it has been resolved as well.
I guess I think it could be a good idea to schedule at least 2 in a row, a week or 2 weeks apart. That way it can be publicized. If you didn't get this first message, figure out here's a set of instructions to do, and then absolutely confirm you get this next one. If it was again on the same day at the same time, then
Yeah.
that could really help the
We're
distract
also,
the public.
yeah, and as well, we're going to be attaching a Survey Monkey to the email portion of the SMC alert so that people can go in there and fill out a certain questionnaire, which I haven't put together fully yet. I'm going to pull up our old one and see what it said. Other questions?
Great, thank you.
Good. Okay. The other thing I really wanted to talk about today was EPIC, which is the nonprofit organization that oversees CERT and READY. And annually, we receive contributions from the town of Woodside and Woodside Fire District and the town of Portola Valley. And it's just been happening this way since well before my time. And we receive $5,000 from each agency. With the money that we receive, you guys know full extent of the programs we do. Maybe not even fully, but we do a lot with the little amount of money we receive. We don't really have any contributors otherwise. And this year, when we submitted for a request for funding, unfortunately, Portola Valley did not fulfill the request. Now, there's some things to be aware of with that. First of all, the way we submit a request for contribution, I don't call it a donation because they're contributing to services provided, is how I see it. It was just an email. Can you send us the check, right? Which is not appropriate. We should be submitting a formal request as well as an annual report so that the town council is well aware of what their money is being spent on, what their money is going towards, what has happened in the past year. So that, first of all, was an issue there. We didn't really hear about it until it was too late for that first round of the budget. And so with all of the funding, all of the things that the town needs to fund, and with the budget, they decided not to, like I said, contribute. So I'm coming to you guys as the EPC because we work very closely together in hopes that you would present to the town council along with me, especially some members on the EPC are EPIC board members, to let the town council know what we do and why it's important to see value in this. We have done this. We're about to do it to the town of Woodside, present to the town council there. Just to be aware that they actually tripled their donation this year for us, which is great because we've been at, $5,000 forever and we were hoping to up it. Because we have big plans. So I'm coming to you guys in request to see if that would be something you'd be interested in and to see any other ways that you might be able to help us support us in another way so that the town council understands how valuable the program is.
Did you ask for a triple or did they just do it willy-nilly?
We requested that we get it, if we could have an increase. And after speaking with the town manager, he was like, absolutely. And so to follow up with that, we are going to council to give them a report and let them know what our goals are for this year. So if that's something we can do with this town council, it should be pretty easy since we're already pretty much going to have the information put together. I just want representatives from this committee, especially hopefully my EPIC board members who are on the committee if possible.
Yeah, Selena, this is Ray. I did talk to Craig Taylor about this. Craig, I guess maybe it was this week. I'm in a blur. I just landed from overseas. And I guess there's some process in town. It might come up again in October. And Craig asked me through the EPC to prepare something for the town so that we would endorse it at the appropriate time. So it was a timing thing, not a don't do it or do it thing.
Yeah.
So.
And, moving past this next year, what our goal is to be submitting an official request for contribution in April, along with the annual report then. So now we're not butting up against the end of the fiscal year. It's just been somewhat informal, and that was just the way it's been. And I really wasn't aware of it. I just, we received the funding and we appreciated it. So I think it just needs to be formalized.
So what is it that you're actually asking us to do prospectively going forward?
Continue support for the EPIC board or the EPIC, for EPIC, and asking a request from the committee to assist with presenting to the town council about the value and importance and what we do as an organization.
And what form would that take? You talk about a presentation, supporting a presentation at town council or just a written?
To the town council. I think it's a good thing to have a short presentation, because if they have questions, I want to be there to answer them. I don't want anybody to leave there going, okay, I'm still not sure about this. So short presentation, not taking too much of their time. I understand those meetings can be very long at both towns. So, but I think it's important that we are there in person.
Do we need a motion for that, Dale, or?
I've got it on the agenda a little bit later, Vic,
Okay,
that we'll discuss how we want to proceed.
And not to take too much more of your time, but I do want to say that, and I know Vic is going to talk about this, that we have been pushing forward with organizing some of the neighborhoods. And there was a great meeting on Shawnee Pass, and Vic was in attendance and Ray was too, and it was amazing feedback from them. So thank you. I just want to say to you guys, but that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Selena. Any questions? Just keep us
The
informed
hand up.
about.
Jerry's hands up.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I want to just support Selena's comments. I think the $5,000 in some ways is a pretty small amount of money to the town or for maybe other things, but it's a large amount of money for this particular effort. And this particular effort really brings benefit to the town, and they may not realize it until the next disaster hits, when CERT really does provide dramatic services to the town. So I strongly support a motion at whatever time in the meeting that is, to ask the town to reconsider that. And whatever representatives are appropriate to go to the council to make a presentation. But in addition, I would like to encourage the town to look at the opportunity for other grants that might help provide that 5,000 or even more to go to CERT. And I can tell you that the Sequoia Healthcare District, whose board I serve on, is very interested in emergency preparedness and provides something like $16 million in grants every year to our district, which we are part of. So it is worth considering applying for a grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anything else for Selena? Thank you, Selena. Keep us
Thanks.
informed on when our test is going to be.
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 7 on our agenda, the evacuation plan status, just to bring everybody up to speed. At our last meeting, this committee approved the evacuation plan that was created by the evacuation subcommittee and two resolutions, one of which to send it on to the town council for their approval. And number two, to get Barry Chin to put it on the update, the weekly updates. I have not been successful in getting Carrie to put it on the weekly updates as yet. I'm going to ping her again today. And the other item is to go to the town council. I think we need to have an update from Craig Taylor, since he's here, and tell us how we're going to get this in front of the council.
Good morning. So I put in we weren't able to get it on the August 9th agenda since it was full, but what I did do was submit a colleagues memo for the 9th to create a subcommittee to basically work with your subcommittee so that we can basically review the document and then hopefully get it back before the council in September. So if you look in the upcoming council packet, you'll see my colleagues memo. So that'll get discussed, I'm hoping pretty briefly at the August 9th town council meeting. Yeah.
So Craig, the subcommittee worked really hard in trying to get this ready so that people could know if there was a fire this year, what we could depend upon. Woodside Fire was incredible in helping prepare this. They have endorsed this completely. The San Mateo County Dam has enthusiastically endorsed it. That was endorsed by a person at the dam that has written 3 of these. Okay. The plan, I assume you've read the plan. So you can
And commented on it extensively.
okay, and so you know that the plan says that this is an initial plan. This plan is going to be a working plan forever. I would really like to see some way that this plan can be posted. And if you're worried about legal issues or whatever, we can qualify that. Maybe you want to call it an advisory plan or a temporary advisory plan. I don't care. But it would be nice for people to understand who's in charge during a situation like this, how they will be notified, what responsibilities these people have already taken and spelled out in this plan. And then also what's spelled out in this plan, advisory towards the residents of the town for what they need to be prepared for. And, this timeline, we're going to wipe through the fire season this year, because in reality, if there are suggestions, good suggestions, which I'm hoping are going to come back, it needs to come back to the EPC. And get there. The EPC has spent a lot of effort and time reviewing this plan and giving us advice on this. And so I really find it totally unacceptable not to have some advisory evacuation plan put out to everyone. This is more or less an agreement, a contract, so that we understand what Woodside Fire has said they're going to do, what the dam has said that they would do, and what we're hoping that people can read and understand what they need to prepare to do too. I'm not objecting to working on this in a subcommittee, but I am strongly objecting to not getting some information out now. And if you want to qualify this, I don't care what words you put on it, but this needs to get out and be posted.
Okay, well, like I said, to get it to the council, I think we need to get some buy-in, and this was my plan to do that. We talked last time about, I think it would be reasonable to put it on the EPC page on the town website and say, this is a draft evacuation plan that's being reviewed by the council. And we could send something out on PV forum saying it's there. I would say that this just got approved by you guys last month. And the idea that it would instantly get turned around and put out in the public, it was probably an unrealistic expectation. Government, now that I'm involved in it, doesn't run that fast. And, Howard spent time, and if Howard, I can let Howard, if he wants to speak to it, checking in with Don Mateo about, because the request was sort of for the council to adopt this thing. And I think that got the attorney for the town to say, what does it mean to adopt this thing? What are the consequences of adopting it? And talking to Don, Don was saying, didn't sound like he thought that this was something that we should adopt. Now, maybe we accept it. Maybe we say we've looked at it, but I think that's the point of this subcommittee, is to meet with EPC subcommittee so we can be clear what it is that we're asking the council to approve. Like, what does that mean? And I think right now, if it went to the council, and this, I told you this last time, I mean, my concern was if it just went to the council, which would be in September, without doing anything else, it'll get to and there'll be a bunch of questions, and then it will be deferred to another council meeting to get those questions answered. So this was my attempt to actually expedite this by trying to get a subcommittee, which I found with this current council seems to be, with the Brown Act and everything else, the most effective way to work through some of those issues. So when it gets to the council, it doesn't churn, because every time it gets to the council and there's questions, then it's put off by 2 to 4 weeks. So I totally appreciate your sort of high level point, which is this is critical information. But unfortunately, there's also a process to move this through once it starts to be sort of an official sort of governmental issue.
So the traffic study that we did last year was finished, went to the town council, and they approved it almost immediately.
Mhm.
So there is precedent for this being done quickly.
Okay,
I think
well,
Ray's got something too. I mean,
So Craig, first of all, thanks for this effort, because I think I totally support the subcommittee.
Speaking your mic.
I am. Is it not coming through?
you got to speak like straight on it.
Got it. Is this any better?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for that effort, Craig, because I think coordinating with the town council and finding out exactly how it's going to get processed is an understandable bureaucratic hurdle that we need to get over. So I appreciate that effort. I think we're doing it as quickly as we can. It's not as if we can call a special meeting to do this. So we'll get it on the agenda. I do support the use of the subcommittee, because I think that's going to be, practically speaking, the best way to figure out how we get this approved as quickly as possible. I just want to reinforce, and I sense from your answer, you're not opposing this, that we find a continuing way, in response to Rob's comment, to keep the community aware that this is in process and moving forward, because as I've talked about at prior meetings, the anxiety level within the community about what's there, if we need something more immediately and more quickly than the council can act, they know that there is a plan, a well thought out plan that is in process and is available for us to access. So I would support, for example, in addition, the Portola Valley Network and any other vehicle, of course, our regular reports as well too from our EPC, that we talk about the fact that this is moving forward in the direction for some next step of meaningful approval.
Yeah, that seemed very reasonable to me. I mean, that would be working with the town manager for that sort of public
Airing.
well, yeah, not even airing, but just public communication, right? Because that's just the process as you go through the town manager to get Carrie to do this. But that's what I was saying. I think putting this out and saying, hey, there's a draft evacuation plan that's come from the EPC and they've approved it. It's working its way to the council. That seems like a reasonable thing to put out there. And if people want to read that draft, I think that's great. I mean, there's a lot of good information there for sure. And I think that gives people access to the information, and then we can go through the bureaucratic side of what it takes to get this to the council and approved, adopted, whatever it turns out we need to do.
And the conjunction and that they have access to it if they want to read it, so that
Yeah, no,
it's available.
yeah, I think you should, yeah, that's what I was saying. Again, you need to go through I'm a council member and I'm your liaison, but going through the town manager, my suggestion would be we post it on the EPC page, so it's there. And
Good.
then all the emails and all the rest of the stuff can point there, and there's a link and you can download it. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, could I specifically ask? I mean, I've sent 2 emails to Carrie to get this put on the town update that comes out every Friday.
You're not speaking in my view.
Oh, sorry. You know, I've sent 2 emails to Carrie to put this on there's a town update that comes out every Friday, I think,
The weekly update, yeah.
weekly update. And it has not appeared. Can I ask your support, Howard, to have Carrie put that on the weekly update so everybody sees a link to this evacuation plan.
And in conjunction with that, let's go ahead and update the link and update the document on the website so that
Yeah.
it's linked under the EPC committee.
Yeah.
Let's-
That's a little
let's-
more complicated because I'm not sure they have the time. I mean, we're short staffed.
Well, what do you think they're going to put in the weekly? They're not going to put the entire plan in the weekly update.
a
They'd only
link to
put they'd only put a link.
Right.
Well, the link's got to, like it's got, the document's got to live someplace for them to put a link. I think that needs to get stored
Yeah.
on the town web. Yeah, I'm with you, Randy. I think we need to, I think we can do this. Again, what I want to be careful of is this is operational stuff. So this isn't policy per se. I'm supportive of doing it, but it's the town manager and the town staff that are responsible for the operation side of it. So I think that's a reasonable request that, and Howard can look into it. I'm hopeful that we'll just make it happen.
So additionally, I differ from my colleagues in thinking that a town council subcommittee is a good process now for this document and where we're at. And that's because it's been approved by the EPC and it's come out of our subcommittee and entered a public process. I think it should stay as a public process. And you mentioned that you're one town council member and you're a liaison and you know, very familiar with these matters, probably the most experienced on the council. But I mentioned this to you, I think a better process is to get feedback from all town council members, independent feedback, because those views may differ. One town council member may say this document, I think, though it could be improved, should be endorsed in some degree by the town council and therefore have more impact with the residents. And others could say, I find it wholly inadequate. I think it would do more harm than good if we endorsed it. But we need to know that and get that.
But I don't think these are mutually exclusive. I think the subcommittee is a way to expedite it, to get it in September. And then you're going to get full comment from the council. But if you just go straight to the council, then I think it will get there with confusion. And then you'll probably won't get the answer that you want, and it will probably get rescheduled to some later date.
Look, I understand the expectation of this getting caught in some churn of the town council, but I also want to point out that is not at all a given. You could have endorsed, you still could endorse scheduling a special meeting. There are many special meetings that get scheduled.
Yeah.
You could endorse getting it on the agenda for the previous meeting. All of that can happen. It's not, when you say that, you know, you can't fit it, it was full, et cetera, it's not clear who's making those decisions and how that process is happening. And you know, we scheduled a special meeting to get this approved, to get feedback on it, because of our feeling that it was important to get this information to residents in for the upcoming fire season. And this is information that we collected with a lot of work from the agencies that are responding to the emergencies. And so again, I really think that it would be a preferable path to get the feedback of all of our elected decision makers to decide what to do, you know, with this moving forward. And so-
Okay, well, my suggestion was come to the next council meeting on the 9th and express your concerns. I've already
Okay.
submitted my colleague's memo. I believe that this is the most expedient way to move this forward. So you can agree or disagree with me, but you know, that was what I was actually trying to do in sort of response to Rob's, like, this is urgent. We need to get moving on this. And so this was my effort to actually try to expedite it. So I don't think your method would do that, but that's fine. You know, we can have an honest disagreement about this. So anyway, that's the plan for going forward. You're welcome to come speak at the council meeting. They certainly do not have to approve my colleague's memo. And then we can let it play out.
How does the item being a colleague's memo differ in terms of having questions from the council, then public comment, and then discussion in the council? Is discussion, substantial discussion among council allowed for the council, for the items on the colleague's memo? I mean, I asked for
I mean, it
clarification.
will be substantial in the sense that they will discuss the contents of the memo, which is, should we have a subcommittee? It will not be reading the evacuation plan and discussing the evacuation plan.
But it's at the same level as an agenda item. This is what Cara Silver tried to clarify when I asked about agendizing items and the decision making around that.
I mean, there's different kinds of, I mean, sometimes colleagues memos go through the consent agenda because they're really information for the other council members. On something like this, because I'm suggesting we need to form a subcommittee, then it needs to be an agenda item. I mean, maybe it gets in consent and I have to pull it. I don't know where the mayor's going to end up putting it. But in any case, yes, I believe it will get treated like an agenda item. It will get pulled.
Comment allowed
Public,
for-
yeah, and I will say what it is and what my goals are. And there'll be questions from the council members, and then it'll be open to public comment. And then it will come back, and then the council will make a decision on it.
I guess I'll just end with, I would ask that if the subcommittee, if the town council does form a subcommittee, that all meetings of that town council subcommittee and our subcommittee or any EPC is done publicly and not behind closed doors or not in emails or any exchanges that aren't public. I think because this is such an important area of public safety, and there is a lot, I mean, I've seen past emails on P forum and stuff. There's a lot of disagreement about evacuation, a lot of concern about it. So I think it's important now that we've moved it into a public process that that all discussion about it, especially among decision makers, stay.
Okay, so
totally public.
so I'm getting confused. I think you guys need to decide, do you want to expedite this or do you want to make it a full public process? I think you can do either, but they're not.
Craig, we want to do both. We
No.
want to expedite it and it to be public. If you,
Okay.
this
To
idea
schedule
that-
public meetings, so by Randy, to schedule public meetings takes a week. If you exchange emails and do review and stuff, you can do it in the same day or you can do it the next day. So I'm okay either way. And you should come speak to that. But if you truly want to leave it in the public process, which I don't really understand because it's going to come to the council as a full document and be discussed publicly. So there's never a question of it somehow submarining and then never seeing the light of day. So, you know, somehow it's like you want the discussions themselves to be public. That's okay. You should come bring that up, but I will guarantee you it will slow the process down. Guarantee you think you can have both. I've been doing this long enough now to say that I strongly believe that that is not possible. So, you know, so this is something you guys need to think about because please, if you think that Randy's got the right approach here, then please just come to the meeting on the 9th. I will withdraw my colleague's memo and we'll let this ride it out. But this is my attempt to actually answer Rob's frustration because I'm very appreciative of how much work went into this. I mean, I know a lot of this stuff, so I can read this thing and appreciate how deep it is. So.
Yeah, so I don't know how we want to move this along, Dale, but I definitely, I appreciate what Brandy's saying, but I really agree with Craig on this one, that I think we need to move forward with this subcommittee to get this designed in the most efficient fashion for the action by the town council. And to the extent that we obviously keep it open to public discussion and public feedback at the various meetings, I think that's the way to go. Otherwise, I think we're going to get burdened down with a lot of cross discussion that's not really going to be that productive. And I think we can keep the community very well informed. You're pointing, Rob, what?
Jerry Sanso.
Jerry, go ahead.
First, I want to support what Craig says. I do understand that there is a public process, there is a Brown Act, and even though Randy's ideas are interesting, I think he's proposed some things that would not pass the Brown Act. So Craig is here as our liaison to guide us in the best way to get things through the council. And so I would support what he's saying. On the other hand, if we have a wildfire 2 days from now and people are reaching for advice on what to do about evacuation, the question is, what is their guide now? Where do they look? Is it all just waiting to hear from the fire department as to when to evacuate? Or is putting our plan on the website as a temporary advisory in process, something that gives the town people some guidance on what to happen 2 days from now if there is an emergency? So I kind of support getting it out so the town can see it better and make their own judgment about what to do if there is an emergency, and then working through the council in the way they best think they can process this quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
So what's it take to put it out right now? Just for advisory.
Well, that is up to the town manager and Carrie. I've sent 3 emails to Carrie, two emails to Carrie asking to put it on the weekly update, and that hasn't happened. And so it's up to Carrie and Howard to put it on the weekly update, which that does get posted on TV Forum, and to post it on the website. And that's out of our hands. I put in the request. This committee has recommended that. And Howard, if you could help with that, at least it would be out there.
Yeah, and I think the town manager is the right person to make that. Do you guys have any more questions for me?
No, I think we'll summarize.
Do you need it, does it require any action from us with respect to,
Well, let's have a quick discussion here. A couple other things. I'm troubled by the whole thing. Personally, I would prefer this go to town council and they adopt it and we get it done. And I would prefer to be done in this upcoming meeting, which is like next week.
right?
Unfortunately, that isn't going to happen. There's no town council meeting in later August. So the earliest we could get on the agenda would be September. And I just know with a housing element disaster that, we play second fiddle. And so I guess with deference to Craig, I have no choice. I don't think I have any choice but to support his method to move this forward. And so unless there is a motion on the floor to do another alternative, I guess we will support Craig's colleague's memo. Do you have any other motions?
I think we should move the question.
What'd you say?
I think we should move the question and basically support that effort for the subcommittee and move forward from there.
Okay, just call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
What's the motion?
To support the colleague's memo.
Was there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just make one last comment? When you discuss this at the town council meeting, I would like to see some sort of guarantee to the amount of time the town council subcommittee is willing to spend upon this, get it done, okay? No, I don't mean any ill will by that, but we burned our butts in April and May, and everybody knew that what we were doing. This, I really want to get this done. And the people that have been working on this in the subcommittee here, there's only so far that they're going to be able to go before they have to go on to something else. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. So I think the town council has to understand that there's only so far I'm willing to go on this. And I'm approaching that.
I have a question. When Craig was talking, he said he talked to Don and he was questioned. Which Don? Oh, okay.
And I do want to answer the question concerning the newsletter. I actually think it makes sense. So maybe, barring me making some checks, that's most likely the route that we would go. Something that summarizes the status that the EPC has been working on this. You can check it out at the website because actually it already exists on our website already. It's just not called out. So I'll work with that with Carrie, and I'll follow up with your emails. And I don't know when you sent them, but I know I saw an email this week about it. She inquired about it, so I don't know if you sent it this week or last week.
But we'd like to get it linked from under the EPC section of the town website, not linked to a the current PDF packet where it's at some other page number. So then the version is there and it's easier to navigate to, and that's the home of our evacuation work that we've approved for the public.
Okay. Well, we could talk about that offline on how it's presented.
I think if you don't agree with that, I think we should talk about it here, because it's a pretty important part of this and getting our work to the residents. I thought we all just agreed on that. So maybe we could pass. I mean, I don't know what we need to do. Okay. Okay, great.
Just one short one. I think what we're worried about is we just want this to get a little bit more visibility for people in the town. Not that it's supported, not that it's anointed or by the town council or whatever, so that people know where it is and that they actually read it, because there's a lot of information there that has been worked on, especially by Selena and other people, so that people sort of wake up and say, okay, you know, it's getting pretty hot and the winds are blowing. This is what we ought to be prepared for. And buried in some obscure corner of the EPC agenda, you know, 2 months ago, isn't going to take us there.
And I think this step then facilitates the additional work to do around the whole area of evacuation. And that's one reason why I'm really keenly interested in getting feedback from all town council members. I mean, I wish we would have had it by now so that we can understand the issues, concerns, questions from our key decision makers in the town. So that's why I don't support this subcommittee process. I want to get the feedback from all town council members just as soon as possible. And I guess I would encourage you to think more creatively about a process to do that, because I think it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible within the Brown Act, both the spirit and the letter of the Brown Act, and any legal feedback that we're getting about this and feedback about approving, I'd like to have that shared with the committee in writing as well. So I think this is just an important area. You know, we're higher fire risk. We're coming into fire season. Evacuation is a difficult thing, and particularly, again, I mentioned this last time, but the evacuation access and evacuation procedure for the schools is of particular concern, and I think the communication with parents and residents is going to be really important going into school, going back in session. That's where I see the biggest risk factor. It's why I started working on this with Rob, and it's hard to proceed with the real work, additional real work to make progress. It can actually save lives with this type of churn and this type of you know, non-straightforward process to get feedback from our decision makers.
You know, I think we're all in agreement kind of on how to move forward here. Can we just move forward?
Yeah, we're recycling here, Dale. I think we need to move forward.
Let's move on. Okay, town picnic is coming up on item number 8, September 23rd. Does this committee wish to have a booth and for participation at the town picnic?
Do you feel it'd be worthwhile, Dale?
We've been there every year that they've had one.
I think we should continue to do it for whatever turnout we can respond to.
Now, the caveat is I will not be there that day,
And what's the date?
September 23rd, Saturday.
I think the critical issue is what do we want to do there that we think will be important. So we need to have whatever educational process or whatever informational process prepared in that booth that makes sense and have the right people there to do it. I expect that I will be available on the 23rd. I don't know who else would be available.
I'm available, Jerry. Me too.
And I'm a question mark, but if I can make it, I'll be there. I have a conflict I may be able to remove.
Okay. Anybody else?
I can make it depending on schedule.
Yeah. Dale, I know you've sort of, you know, not chaired it so much as you've been the organizer. What do we need to do? Do we just show up? Are the tables built? Do we have to haul our own stuff in? What goes on?
I will coordinate with Patty Dews, who's organizing.
Okay.
And like last year, I've already sent in a preliminary that, yeah, we'll have a booth there.
Okay.
Figured I had time. If we said no this meeting, I could tell her no. But I've already told her yes, and so I will coordinate, the booth and the layout,
Okay.
collateral, and
We-
we can discuss at the next meeting what we
Okay.
need to put together for that. Traditionally, we've handed out our radio magnets, other collateral about, I think we had information on evacuation plan, we had information about neighborhood organizing.
Right.
Any of those kinds of things that people want to talk about. And so it's good to have a presence. We do have our banners. Foot traffic has been, fair to moderate over most of the picnic. So
Is there some publicity in advance about the fact that we're going to be there at the picnic for that purpose, Dale?
yes,
Okay,
yeah, they put a list of all the committees that be there. Most of the town committees actually have a presence.
yeah, I think we should definitely do it.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you all. AM radio relocation. Ray, have we beaten this one enough, or is there anything else?
It's $677 to rent a scissor jack.
All right.
For your well-being, let's do it.
Yeah, real time.
Real time. Okay, great.
Do we have money in our budget?
Yeah, we could take money from the EPC budget to pay for
Good.
that if necessary.
Do we have to have a motion?
Do we need a motion, Dale? I don't think so.
Let me
do we?
spend up to $1,000. I'm sure I've got to buy some drill bits and bolts and some other hardware and items and stuff like that.
That's not a bad idea. Do I have a motion on the
So
floor?
moved. $1,000.
Can I ask a question before we do that?
Oh,
Go ahead, Chris.
What is remaining in our budget? How much money do we have, Dale, and when does that expire?
The new budget that was approved by the town council, we just entered a new year and we have a budget of $10,000.
And the reason I'm asking that relates to one of our future agenda items is, could we potentially use some of that budget money to support Epic? And if we do want to do that, maybe we want to be careful about how we spend it in the meantime.
I agree with that, Chris. And I think let's discuss that at the next agenda item. But as of right now, we've spent zero in this fiscal year. So
Right.
allocating $1,000, I think, is okay. So
It does seem like a small number, but so does 5,000, and we seem to have made an enormous deal out of that somehow.
Let's
still-
move on to
I just
1,000
wanna-
and then we can deal with what we want to do with the remainder of our budget with respect to Epic. Does that make sense, Dale?
Yes.
Should we
So I
vote?
think we have a motion on the 1,000, right?
We have a motion on
Yes.
1,000.
And there's been a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the committee has allocated $1,000, Howard, so you can take it from our committee budget to pay for the scissor lift. Coordinate that with Ray and have time to do that. Okay, next, item number 10. Support for Epic. We've heard Selena's comments. I've also had conversations with several other people. I find it incredible that our town council did not support a $5,000 donation to Epic. I don't think there's much discussion on this committee. Would somebody like to make a motion in support of a donation from the town to support?
Jerry's got a
Epic?
question.
Oh, Jerry, go ahead.
I think I would like to hear from Craig, his best understanding about why it was withdrawn, so that we as a council are just or as a committee are educated about it. I don't think somebody just said, I hate the EPC and CERT, and so I'm going to pull the 5,000. I think there was some logic that it would be nice for us to understand. And if we want to appeal that logic, that's certainly appropriate, and I would probably support that. But I think it's important for the committee and the community to hear about why that support was pulled.
I second that. I think until we understand what happened, trying to propose solutions may not work, but unlike the way I feel that the committee and town government is working, I'm in favor of very quick decision-making here. And so I'd love to hear that if we could right now, and then we can maybe address possible solutions to fixing whatever went wrong in the future.
Greg?
So in this last budgeting process, this has been tough for the council. We're running a $1.5 million deficit. We've been running deficits that through COVID, we managed to get by because we got some of these, extra funds from the federal government. So when we got the request from Epic, which was literally like a one sentence thing from Joe Coleman, like, give us $5,000. The council is like, for what? So what have you done and what are you going to spend this on? That when we talked about it, I mean, that's what I said was, I didn't envision that there'd be any problem getting money to Epic. It would be Epic. And I've talked to Selena and Ray. I've talked to a number of people who've asked me directly. I don't think this is going to be a problem, but I do think that Epic needs to basically, and I think Selena said it in her comments. Feel like I'm just echoing what she said, which is, if Epic just says, here's what we do, here's what we've accomplished. I think it's important that anytime the town gives public funds to anybody, there's a justification for it. But more important, I think it's a chance for Epic to say, hey, this is the great things we're doing. So the council can go, this is awesome. It's so great that Epic's here. So I think it has there's a twofold advantage to actually having Epic say a little bit more about what they're doing. And then Chris's idea of having EPC potentially fund Epic is an interesting one. I mean, that would be a different, rather than go through the donation path, which is what it was being requested, maybe we run it more through the operational path. So that, I hadn't even thought about that. That might be another thing. But that's basically what happened at that meeting. It was a combination of the town's deeply in debt and there was no justification behind it. Is that helpful?
I have a
Yeah.
question. Why didn't you speak up? You know what Epic Insert does. Why didn't you speak up?
I did, and I didn't know what the reserves were for Epic. I mean, I said it was a worthy thing, and I thought with an explanation from Epic that I thought we should support them. So I did speak up at that level, but beyond that, I have no idea what the reserves are for
Greg,
Epic.
I was at that meeting. There were a bunch of things that the town council agreed to support that have nothing to do with residents in this town.
But they are donations that were requests with a justification for what we do. So that was our charitable giving, which is why I potentially like Chris's idea of taking this out of the charitable giving agenda item, which is what it was in, and move it into more of an operation for the town and the safety for the town. So it might be a better way to approach it in general. And Chris, if you got time, I mean, I'd be happy to sit down and talk more with you about that. I think that seems like a pretty interesting way. And maybe not this year, maybe we do it next year so that we budget appropriately for it. But that feels to me, actually, in thinking about it on the fly, as a better way to do it.
Yeah, I had proposed that concept for two reasons. One, maybe it was a fast way to get money to the Epic. And I also want to make clear, I am an Epic board member, so I'm on both sides of this issue here. But I find it hard to believe that the town council really questioned the goodness and the activities of Epic. That sounds incredulous. But I also get when people are in $1.5 million kind of deficit, that it's probably easier to say, listen, we at least need more justification before we can do something here. So
yeah, and the other thing that happened that same night, it's a bunch of the donations just like arbitrarily got cut in half. It was a lot of, in my mind, fairly arbitrary set of decisions. So this one was more just get more information from Epic so we can support it, rather
Right,
than
no one
I
can deny the irony of the town council failing to fund an organization that has done so much for emergency preparedness in a time where I think the quote I heard earlier today was the anxiety in the community around evacuation and fire, something that, CERT and all the preparedness activities have so much to do with it. It's pretty incredible irony and probably not all that well thought through. So the second half of my suggestion was, one is let's get the money fast. And if we have money in our budget and we're willing to do that, that might be a solution. Second is, if there is a problem with the process, maybe putting it through the EPC and having it come through as a recommendation is a way to solve it in the future. And that's just a maybe. Both of them are maybes, ideas for thought.
And Selena, is this money that you guys need like tomorrow, or is this money you need? Because what I said when we were doing the budgeting stuff is typically around October, we do a budget adjustment. And that was when I was expecting that this would come back in and get approved. Again, I'm one council member, so it's not up to me to approve it, but that seemed to me the likely path, and it seemed, high probability event. Because I would say if you need it right away, then do an EPC budget. Go ahead, push me out of the way.
Just give us the money already. Now, October is reasonable, especially considering the funds we will be receiving from the town of Woodside and under the notion that we will be receiving funding from the town eventually. I do appreciate the idea of pushing it through an operational side. That sounds great. So I don't see it as being a big issue. Just note that unfortunately, due to lack of quorum, the EPIC board has not been able to meet our last 2 meetings. So we have a meeting coming up here in August 11th, or it's coming up here soon. So we will be discussing this, but we haven't been able to have an official discussion for quite some time.
So do I understand you saying if it waited till October to fund it, that does not hamper you from doing the work that you need to do? Is that right?
Yes, I would like to be honest about that. Yeah, we are still moving forward with all of our projects. Whether or not we get your funding, we will still move forward, but
So we're going to have an opportunity, if EPIC can get to the town council, to have the town council reconsider this and have it effective in October. There's still that possibility, Craig. Is that correct?
We can't hear you.
I was just saying, yes, there is a budget adjustment, and that's window. I think it's usually October, so that's when I would expect it, but it will be whenever that adjustment is.
Right. So I think it's really important to press this issue before the town council and educate them, give them an opportunity to get a better appreciation of why the EPIC request should be granted before we jump in. And as a backup, we can obviously be there if we need to be the backup. And that's what I don't know if it's a motion, but that's what I would suggest that we do.
I was looking at this meeting for a motion in support of the EPIC mission.
Does that mean funding it as well, Dale, or does
We're
it?
recommending that the town council fund EPIC.
Oh, okay. That I
And we are extremely supportive of their mission. And have
so
been.
moved. I think it's a great way to do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would say is, you can certainly do it now, but also doing one near when Selena is going to go in front of the council. So she can just say, hey, at the last EPC meeting, they were enthusiastic, we gave them our stuff, they were enthusiastic, it just makes it more timely. So you can do now, but I would also do something
I
closer.
would like to do it now. It's on the record. We
Yeah.
can do it every meeting between now and then.
There you go,
I think we
exactly.
do it once now, and to the extent our representative of EPC could be there at the time that Selena speaks to this issue to the town council, I would also say we should be open to coming in support of that as well. And that I think really will give you 100% support. Yeah. So I would amend our motion to also encompass being there to support the request of the funds in whatever it is, whatever October or September.
Yeah,
So
and I-
moved.
And I would also recommend that each member of the EPC, each one of us can write a memo to or a letter, email to
Sure.
the town council members in support of EPIC. So we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Is that okay with you, Chris? Okay, all in
Sure.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Motion does pass. Okay. Any subcommittee reports that we need to chat about?
I would just briefly mention on the neighborhood one, just to reinforce in 30 seconds what Selena was kind enough to reference. We've got a new neighborhood, which is not to be taken for granted. Shawnee, and it was terrific to be there and see a new effort begin. We're going to continue to give it support. I'm giving it some time. We've had members of the committee that were there as well to speak. And I just want to acknowledge that to the committee, and hopefully we're going to continue that effort as much as we can get people out there to walk the walk.
Great. It's also something, you know, the town picnic is good at if you can find anybody
Absolutely.
who's interested. That's a heavy lift. We've been working on it for years, but anytime you find someone, it's really good support. Okay, any other subcommittee reports? Anybody want to chat about anything else? Okay, our next meeting is September the 3rd. Unless I hear otherwise, I presume we'll have a quorum. Looks like we've been pretty successful this year getting a quorum. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Thank you all, and thank you, Chris and Ray and Jerry, for appearing via Zoom. It was very helpful. We'll see you.